The Beastmaster didn't get big in Hollywood. Fantasy. It got out of the fire and risk. A dry land that was on fire, animals that didn't answer to anyone, and making things held together by feeling by yourself. But under the bare steel and sun-bleached skin, it was a matter of life, getting dressed as fate. A story cut from a sci-fi story and reborn wild. A spark behind the cameras making the set look like a place to fight. A story from extinction by fans who wouldn't let it happen die. Here are 12 strange facts about the Beastmaster in places where it never gets hot finally gave up, and tales were carved from scars and sweat. First, bear chaos the first day. Before Dar ever brought up a bush raised its claws like a sword. Mark Singer showed up to the set expecting fantasy and walked right into fear. The only trained Russian bear in the show, a huge, unpredictably solid wall of muscle, dropped the ball during young Dar's the first scene. At one point, it was putting on a show. The next, it hit its handler, who pulled him to the ground in lots of teeth and claws. The crew members' people screamed. Things fell, and locked doors and bolted into cars like they ran away from a monster that was born out off the play. And in the middle of that, Mark Singer saw managers deal with the chaos, pull the bear back into its box, while nurses carried the hurt trainer, go away. There wasn't even any dust that calmed down when someone spoke to him, and he told Mark, "All right, you're up," was the moment he saw the beast. Master wasn't a fantasy story. It was an introduction, a test of fear, a lot of sweat and wild feeling. A movie in which the beasts weren't moving, and neither were they. He was he. Second, a bad guy was born from bad luck. Before Max became the movie Shrobe Death Prophet, he was supposed to be something much more unstable. The first pick was Kloskinski, artist known for skill, anger, and demands, and the deal that could break a work began before the cameras even turned on. And that's exactly what took place. The talks broke down in a storm of points of view, and Max's part fell into the empty space. After that, Rip Torn came in. He didn't get the part, though. Heffy had it. Torrin changed Max from the bones outward, making a hook shape, making a fake nose by himself, altering talks to become routine shouts, and moving to the slow beat accuracy of a snake-like corrupted prophet. Every scene was full of something not right. A bad guy who didn't doked bad, but sent it out like heat. What started out as a mistake in casting changed into the movie's beating heart of darkness. What Kinski would have played a bad guy, Torrin turned into a story. Third, building a myth from sci-fi issues. No one saw the Beastmaster crawl out of magic and swords. It came in from out in space. The movie started out as a 1959 story about a Navajo soldier on a faraway world. Peaceful, well thought out, to stay alive and form mental bonds with animals from another world. Not any mounds or witches, not a half-naked barbarian holding a sword under a fiery sun. Hollywood took a look at that gentle story about thinking things over and only kept one thing: a man who could talk to animals. Everything else was burned away. Spaceships started to fall apart. A temple. Tribes from other stars became cults in the desert. And the books based on Der, a stolen child, was born again as hero. Carved by witches, raised by destiny, and doomed to fight a death worshipping the kingdom. Writing by Andre Norton was shocked by the change that she asked for her name to be taken off from the credits at all. For her, either wasn't a version. It was another being that was wearing her book's skin. But something was seen by director Don Coscarelli. Not the same. A chance to make something darker. An even stranger tale was made from the ashes of a world long gone. He wanted scary pyramids, bad cults, shapeshifters, and customs that you could almost smell getting burned off the screen. The Office refused to give in and begged for something more like Conan. I fought, though Coscarelli kept the bad dreams from the movie living. What made it through was a mixed story. It's part studio fantasy, part lost book fever dream. Is a movie that was made in the desert, but the sci-fi ghost is still there. It used to be a story. Witches are number 4. Cut from Bad Dreams. Before the 3 witches crept into Dar's future, they had to make it through a change, deserved of a story. Their skewed bodies, spines bent out of shape, faces melted, limbs like it wasn't CGI, that the shadows were crooked, illusions. They were stacked artificial limbs, latex, plastic, glue, and hand-painted rot was spreading across their skin. It took so long that the actors didn't bother taking it down. In between breaks. They ate and took naps in it. We had lunch in it. and sat in plastic chairs that looking like fears caught in the middle between worlds. It was more than just a choice of form. It was a promise to make amends. This dream wasn't shiny or great. It was creepy, dark, and a little scary, a little sick. The witches did more than just haunt the show. They walked around the set, living little signs that this world was meant to shaken up, not ease. 5. Destiny changed in casting. Long before Tanya Roberts changed her name to Kiri in Thane the Hot Desert, another name kept coming up that the part. You saw Demi Moore. Coscarelli editions had something fierce about them, a spark that went with the darker tone of the movie. T fought and pushed for her. Thought of her with Dar in a world off. There are groups, witches, and burning prophecies. But Hollywood is a country that is run by not directors, but creators. And then the senior producer had other ideas. Roberts was picked, not because she was safer, but because she could sell. The shiny allure studios came with her that wanted after Conan died. Even if Coscarelli's gut had been telling him for something rougher and more slipped away, Robert took over. The fate wheel changed, and in a story about fate and futures that were lost, the casting itself became a part of the story. Lost one way, another one was cut into the sand. Number 6. The negative was lost in time. Every cult, there are secrets in the movie, but the Beastmaster does not have the Holy Grail. The master picture from the camera place that every restoration comes from it needs to be made. Not an AA studio vault or a library. It never even got put away in the right way. It was kept in a private home instead. Connected to one of the film's producers. AA place for family stories, not the history of movies. When it changed hands, the cans went with it. And went away. Nothing to show for it, just left. Thanks to director Don Coscarelli to find its way for years. It's like a treasure hunter to follow stories, going through the ruins of old Hollywood. Some say the cans were thrown during a Get Up and Move. Others claim they were boxed up and left in an attic somewhere in Los Angeles. The one particularly strange one idea is that they were taken by collectors who didn't know they were having the only perfect copy of the movie. Coscarelli finally left. People are asking fans for tips, which how the movie came to be into a real-life search for a lost item without that bad. Perfect 4K repairs are very hard to do. Brand new going through Move is like looking through FOG.at, a world that used to be very bright. In a closet somewhere out there. The real beast is in the attic or storage box. The master is still not here. A lost artifact from the time of magic and swords. Won't tell anyone its secrets. Listen, wild sounds coming from the desert. If you want to go back to Dar's world and feel that scary, wild magic once more, you can get your own copy using the links below. Blu-ray, DVD, or even VHS if you want to go back in time. Thanks for the help. It means a lot. Let's go back to the sands now. Legends are everywhere. 7th. Names of books that changed Dar. Before the Beastmaster, even though it became a cult favorite, the movie crossed lines with different names. Each one changed Dar in a different way. Some kind of story. In some places, he came out as a fighter named Dar the Invincible, framed as a story before he turned a blade. Japan changed the mood. Everything with Miracle Master. Selling the movie was like a magical dream filled with awe instead of the darker ritual-scarred epic was what it really was. Then there was Germany, where people watched him under a stark military flag. A title called Beastmaster or Dare Be Friar that hinted at fate, rebellion, and freedom long before Dar faced it. Mox's group. 3 names for one movie went away into a different story. Dar didn't just as he traveled. He changed into no matter what legend each society needed him to be. Being. The 8th thing is flirting. Caused chaos. Chaos didn't just happen. Animal parts. It sometimes came from the cast. Tanya Roberts often did this on set, of making fun of young Josh Milrad, Dar's identical from birth. A wink. That was a jokey statement. Everything made with one goal in mind. To drive Mark Singer is completely crazy. It wasn't Milrad mind. He thanked them and said he was that age where girls all of a sudden became very that's interesting. But Singer was sweating through pranks and avoiding the unexpected animals and try to keep the film steady together. The flirting outside of camera it turned into its own running joke. In a movie based on cult practices and dark prophecies and wild animals, there were no scripts for dynamics at all. It was a real-life trio that started because of stress, being young, and the heat of the desert. It kept just enough of a surprise on set to write for the movie they were making. In number 9. Cable made it last forever. When the Beastmaster walked out of in theaters, MGM handled it like a small movie. Just a note. A simple dream movie that it only got its money back. No a lot of ads, no plans for a series, and talk about possible franchises. In Los Angeles terms, it was like a whisper that came and went, but it roared on television. HBO chose it up almost right away, and something it was strange. Programmers got caught in love with it. It was shown at dawn, at noon, and midnight. That people see it so often told a joke that HBO stood for, hey, Beastmaster's on. The kids did it every day. Nidals thought of it as background mythology. Channel surfers came across it just as Dar called out Tohi's animals and got hooked all over once more. After that, TBS joined the fun, running the show with such dedication that fans named it the Beastmaster Station. For the group that grew up in the movie didn't feel like it was made in the 1980s or 1990s, like an overlooked underdog in the theater world. It felt everywhere, like a strange hypnotic dream that was part of the very fabricto get cable TV. How much did the movie make? Cable came back from the dead. What studios didn't care about late-night shows turned into a tale. That's how a simple sword and magic movie it was thrown out by its authors as a nice idea that it turned into a cult tale that they refused to die. Moved forward by screens that flash and fans who found it by watching it over and over again. Number 10. It was called Epic in other places, America. The Beastmaster didn't walk and into screens. It limped. A quiet when it came out, a moderate box office haul, and not even a whisper from the reviewers. But around the world, the movie put on its war paint and beat them. Great Britain was the first to allow yourself to be sucked in. Distributors, I noticed something strange. Whenever they put out the movie again, and the crowds grew bigger, fans crowded into shows not only for Dar's fights, but also for the mood of story, the deserts, the animals, the spooky images that made you feel different and wilder than usual fare in Hollywood. Soon, France and Italy, Spain and Scandinavia came next, being careful not to treat Beastmaster like a cult hit strange, but as a full-on dream epic. And in some places, the movie they never really left. It lived on through midnight showings and scratched VHS tapes covered in sun-bleached fabric and low-cost TV shows that showed it like a weekly habit. People didn't see deals or fights in the office. They saw a world that looked old. It's alive and dangerous. At home, the Beastmaster was just another early 80s game. Fantasy. But in other countries, it turned into bigger. A story that was spread, believed, and over until it sounded like myth. The United States shrugged it off. The rest of the world made it a throne. Number 11. Barbarian Fever changed fate. Before the Beastmaster found the throne of its cult, it came in on the wake of Conan the Wild Person. At that moment, Hollywood wanted strength, magic, and swords that glowed like a promise. But Coscarelli's Not film didn't just follow the trend, it turned it. Dar wasn't a killer. Husha was a guardian and a fighter who had total king to animals like they were brothers shaped by fate. That mix of myths and violence and animal bonding stood aside from the steel clanging of the time brave. The children remembered the ferrets before the fights. Fans thought of the eagle before the sword. And after fan fiction movies and TV shows, even on Saturday early morning adventures borrowed to the same method. The soldier and his pet friends. The world is up against a primitive team among savage movies based on strength. The Beastmaster showed that something uncommon. Sometimes the most magic that is strong isn't strength, but that link. 13. Return of a story by fans who stick with you. There was no crowning of the Beastmaster a winner, but viewers did. Cable shows made it into A-myths don't stay small for long. Tapes were passed around, and suddenly, the movie's life after it was louder than all of its runs in theaters. Then came the follow-ups, Beastmaster 2. A gonzo came through the portal of time, the cult favorite dimension-hopping game. And Animal Master 3. The Eye of Brace is a 90s kids watched a lot of Dream TV coming across swords and magic after school. The TV was the real surprise. A series. It came out in 1999 and ran until dozens of dreams with bigger budgets, running for 3 full seasons and a lot of people who had never even seen the first movie. The movie series didn't rise by box office. It went up keep going by becoming the kind of story people went back to, whether it was on VHS, afternoons on television, or syndicated shows. To Get 8 was a quiet movie that built a world so loud it can echo for 2 decades. Some stories get stronger because they never stopped being big don't come back. Extra fact, Daras the blade wasn't made of rubber or was dull, weapon for stunts. It was a real, full-forged sword that has been cleaned, weighed, and made to shine like destiny under flashlight. Everyone thought it would end up put away in a prop locker or a museum show. Instead, it was gone. When making things, the sword was wrapped and just walked off the set. No signature, no forms, and not track. Coscarelli said it was never found. Not even a story, not even talked about, not even whispered in circles of collectors. One of stories, the great relics of movies got lost in a stolen spell in the real world. And out there in a barn, a basement, or a lost trunk, the Beastmaster's blade is still not here. The Beastmaster wasn't meant to last. It was a weird, broken dream that came true, almost didn't follow from a book. Shaped because of mud, accidents, and being stubborn but it got out of the 1980s with a life, which isn't often seen. It gave us Dar, a hero who fought with gut feelings instead of armor. Max, a bad guy made from fire and fears, and a place where magic didn't shine. It went hunting. The theater forgot about it. But it was the age of cable loops, VHS tapes, and off-wide-eyed kids kept it going for a long time after everyone thought. If the Beastmaster ever marked your childhood or made you fall in love with swords and magic, post your answer below. Because some legends shine, some legends roar, but this one survived by pure will. A sect myths moving through time, still ready for the next believer.